Hi, welcome back to Growing Up in the Shadows, a series. So, a little bit about myself. As you know, my name is Clara. I was actually born in Chicago. When my family decided they were going to move to Florida, my mom and my grandmother had decided they were going to move to New York with my tia Marta and my tio Humberto. Now, my mom was already living there and engaged to Cesar when she had met George. And of course, that did not happen, and she ended up uh, being with George and establishing a home in Eastham, which is in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. So at that time, it was around my birthday. So we're talking about Labor Day weekend, and we were flown from my grandmother and I were flown from New York to Eastham for my birthday. When we got to the house, it was late, it was dark, and all you could hear was the roaring of the ocean. You couldn't see it because it was so dark, but man, it was loud. Go into the house, and all I have are all these presents everywhere. I didn't see my mom for a while, but that was normal. Was used to it. And I was happy to see my mom. I was happy to see George, but I saw what would be my most prized possession, which was my bicycle. I loved it. It was beautiful. It was red and it was white and it had training wheels, and it became my favorite thing for the longest time. Now, the next morning, I wake up and we live in a house on the beach, and we're up high up in the dunes, and the whole front of the house that faces the ocean is all wall-to-wall sliding glass doors. So there is, all you see is ocean if you're in that side of the house. So I'm on the deck, and I'm just looking outside, and I'm just mesmerized by how beautiful the ocean is, and how the sun hits it, and it's just, the reflection of it is just gorgeous. And how many steps it takes to get down there. I'm looking at the staircase, and I'm like, wow. George comes out. He starts talking to me about the ocean and stuff like that. Like, okay, whatever. But I see a boat out there, and it's a huge boat. And I'm like, I ask him, hey, what's that? He goes, oh, that's the old Target boat. I'm like, the old Target boat? He goes, oh yeah, that's an old Target boat that they used to use for target practice during the war. And I'm like, oh wow, like a Navy ship? And he's like, yeah, a Navy ship. That's a Navy ship. They used to use it for target practice during the war, and it's all rusted out, and it just sits there in a sand dune, and they just left it there. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And the conversation ended. I go along my merry old way, and I go decide to take that staircase all the way down. I go down there, and the feel, the sand on my feet is just amazing. I had never felt such a thing. And as the day progresses, I notice that the ocean is leaving, and it's going out, and it's going further and further away. And I ask him, where's the ocean going? And he doesn't understand my question. And I'm like, he's like, what do you mean it's low tide? And I go, yeah, it's low tide, but where is it going? It's leaving. Low tide doesn't just mean the water goes low. It's leaving. And by the time, I can't even remember how long, but I mean, it was gone for like miles. There was no ocean for miles. At least in my perspective, at that time, I was probably about maybe 8 years old. So yeah, it was miles. It felt like miles to me. So I go down again, take that long staircase downstairs to the ocean, and I am exploring. He's like, don't stay there too long. You don't want to be caught out there when the ocean starts come back in. I'm out there, and I discover a whole world. I discover a world of hermit crabs and starfish, and because there's these little puddles of water between like these the things of sand, and you see little tiny crabs hiding under the sand, and horseshoe crabs. I had never seen a horseshoe crab, and it was just an amazing day for me, because it was like the discovery of all these sea creatures, starfish, the hermit crabs, the horseshoe crabs, the little tiny crabs that were like this little tiny big. I mean, little tiny crabs. It was an amazing thing for me. I'll tell you what, after that summer or that visit, I can't tell you how many days in a summer I would spend on that beach during low tide, and how many miles I would go out exploring, and the things that I would do became so fascinating for me. But that's a story for many more stories for many more days, because they are so incredibly yeah, interesting. But that's just one of the best memories I have of one of the best birthdays I as a child I had. It was probably the best birthday I can remember as a child, was that night arriving in East Ham for the first time and having my own room, because I had never had my own room before in my life. I had always shared my room with a grandmother. I just remember spending most of my life with my grandmother up until that point in Chicago. I lived with my grandmother. I would visit my mother, but I spent most of my life with my grandmother, and I had always shared a room with my grandmother and cousins who lived with us. And so, because my grandmother raised a bunch of us, and I had my own room, and it was amazing. It was great. I had my own room. I had my own bicycle. So yeah, it was one of the best days of my life as a child for a birthday. So that was probably the best memory I have, or at least one of the best memories of my childhood that I can remember. Now, I will continue to talk about stories of my childhood growing up in East Ham, or the Cape, we called it. We went back and forth from Florida to the Cape, Florida to the Cape. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of transitioning that went on. And I will say this. There are a lot of stories that I will be talking about that could be triggering for some people, and I will advise you in advance when they could be triggering. I am able to talk about them because I have been able to deal with my past and heal from my past. And I am able to comfortably now speak about everything that has happened in my childhood and go forward with my life in a normal, positive way, and live non toxically. So I hope that on some level, my story is a positive light for some people in their lives. So I hope to see you again, and I hope that you continue your journey with my journey, and keep holding on.